Welcome to ETI's webinar, Building Safer and Greener Tanneries, Lessons from SMEP, Sustainable Manufacturing and Environmental Pollution Program. We will get started in just a moment as our rest of our attendees join. But in the meantime, we are going to start off with a quick word cloud. And prior to that, just to let everyone know, this session is being recorded. It is a public webinar, so we're not using Chatham House rules. So things you may say or potentially write in the chat could be quoted. Please use the Q&A function to ask questions and share reflections throughout. We'll gather your questions and put these to our panelists during the discussion. So as you see loading on the slide here, to start off, just based on what you know and what you feel, what factors, in your opinion, contribute to a socially and environmentally sustainable leather tannery sector? Okay, this should be... We should be, there we are, it's starting to come through here. Fabulous. I'm sure we have some more beyond safe chemical handling. Fabulous, coming through now. Social dialogue, ESMS in place. Fantastic. We'll give a few more moments for some responses to come through. If you're just joining us now, we have just started our webinar with a word cloud. Please scan this QR code or visit menti.com, enter in these numbers, and let us know what you think. It's anonymous, so feel free to share freely as to what factors contribute to a socially and environmentally sustainable leather tannery sector. Amazing. So really interesting points. And you can carry on responding. We will be exploring some of these points today, such as social dialogue, worker voice, ESMS. We'll find out what this acronym stands for, coming through very clearly, ESMS in place, effluent treatment. So some really practical elements, as well as points that speak to more how things are done, such as through social dialogue, and as well some underpinning points as well, like decent work. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I will move us along now and go through the agenda for today's webinar, and you can finish off your thoughts, but we'll move on. So the agenda for today, we will do a welcome. So I am Heidi Chan. I am the gender program lead at ETI. We will hear I'll give you a short introduction to the SMEP project. My colleagues then Nafiz and Farjana will provide an overview of SMEP and go into some of the insights into promising practices that emerged from our project, as well as lessons. We'll then go into some reflections from Abil bin Amin at ETI Bangladesh as the Executive Director, and AKM Ashraf Uddin, who is the Executive Director at Bangladesh Labour Foundation. We will then finish off with a panel with those questions and importantly answers that we're asking you all to contribute in the Q&A. So please drop in any questions throughout the presentation that may be on your mind, and we'll do our best to put some of these to the panelists or follow up after the webinar with some more answers or reflections. So moving on to the next slide. The Sustainable Manufacturing and Environmental Pollution Program. This is a wider program that is funded generously by UK International Development and is in partnership with UN Trade and Development which provides implementation support. We have received funding as Ethical Trading Initiative to work with our partners who share our values with respect to tackling the wider challenges that we see to human rights issues in global supply chains. So we are very pleased to be working with ETI Bangladesh, which is an independently registered subsidiary of ETI. It was established in 2015 with the aim of designing and delivering programs and activities in Bangladesh to achieve ETI's global vision and strategy. ETI's vision is a world that protects human rights, ensures dignity for all, provides opportunity, and is free of exploitation and abuse. Through collaboration and innovation, we work to drive engagement, challenge barriers to change, and ensure respect for human rights at work. Recognizing the importance of taking an integrated approach to address both social and environmental dimensions to manufacturing, ETI identified then this opportunity to work with ETI Bangladesh, but as well other partners. And these other partners include Bangladesh Labour Foundation, which is a national labor rights organization committed to promoting decent work, social justice, and sustainable development for all workers in Bangladesh. As a national labor rights organization, BLF has played a pivotal role in shaping labor policies, enhancing workplace conditions, and empowering workers across multiple formal and informal workplaces and sectors. Finally, we are also pleased to work with Mondial FNV, which is the International Solidarity and Support Organization, which is affiliated with the largest Dutch trade union federation, the FNV. And FNV Mondial has an extensive network of global, regional, national, and local partner organizations. It provides financial support and expertise, stimulates cooperation and knowledge exchange, and advocates for better working conditions, a stronger position for trade unions, and as well increasing female leadership in trade unions. So without further ado, I will go into a little bit more about the project that we have come together to deliver over the course of 23 months. So we sought to achieve three things. We sought to first support tanneries to develop and strengthen the systems that will allow them to manage and mitigate the impact of environmental harm stemming from tannery operations, while at the same time building the capacity of managers and workers to create and maintain safe workplaces for all workers. Secondly, we sought to promote human rights and environmental due diligence, which is, in our opinion, the best integrated way to address underlying challenges and improve working conditions and address environmental impacts. Thirdly, we sought to engage and support stakeholders in the leather sector in Bangladesh to undertake advocacy to address challenges shared by the tanneries on the Savar estate and beyond. Before I hand over to the team to tell you more about the project, I'll review a few key facts about leather and the Bangladesh leather industry that may be specifically helpful for you to know. So, for the benefit, for those who are not familiar with leather, much of the soft and smooth leather we are familiar with is the result of a tanning process that turns hides into durable, lasting materials. This is often achieved with chemicals, and some of these chemicals can be hazardous without the proper use and mitigative measures, like gloves, for workers, and as well, if the water that is used in this process with chemicals is not effectively treated, the wastewater can also contribute to pollution and can contaminate surrounding communities. So tanning operations can pose key risks to the health and well-being of workers who are involved in the operations, but as well as surrounding communities that use rely on the waterways that surround those tanneries and operations. It's important to note too, though, that globally many buyers rely on leather working group certification for assurance of environmental practices that mitigate these risks I've just mentioned, as well as others. And so it's important to know that LWG, as it's abbreviated, that certification is often a key criteria for tanneries when they access international markets. So specifically then to the Bangladesh leather industry, you may be surprised to know that actually tan leather, leather footwears, accessories are the second largest export industry for Bangladesh. The main sources of leather hides are actually come from animals that are sacrificed during the Eid al-Adha celebration. And these animals are often reared by individual households as opposed to commercial farms, which you'd see in other countries and sectors. And as well, those farms are often linked to the risk of deforestation. So there isn't that same kind of risk with regard to the leather that is sourced from Bangladesh. Couple more other background points for you to know. In 2017, following a major investment into the leather sector, tanneries in Dhaka were relocated from Hazaribagh to a new purpose-built Savar Tannery industrial estate in another area of Dhaka. And this is really because the government and stakeholders recognize the significance of this leather sector, the potential, and this estate was meant to reduce pollution and boost competitiveness via a shared central effluent treatment plant, which would then process that wastewater, which I mentioned earlier, as well as upgraded infrastructure. Unfortunately, though, this hasn't yet yielded the intended results. The CETP, that central effluent treatment plant, has experienced design flaws and has not been properly constructed, which means that tanneries on the estate risk contaminating nearby rivers. And so consequently, tanneries would struggle to meet those standards of LWG certification, which I've just mentioned is a really key criteria a lot of buyers use and therefore they would struggle to access markets where LWG certification is a requirement. It's important to note that that's not the sole factor buyers consider when sourcing leather, but it is considered to be a basic requirement because it's such a strong requirement with respect to monitoring and setting standards for environmental practices. So with this background, just keeping this in your head, I am going to ask my colleagues Nafiz, Mahmud, Ayon, and Farjana, Yasmin to share further detail about the intervention and its achievements. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Hello, everyone. This is Nafiz. Someone, can you move into the next slide, please? So we have got a little bit of background of our project. So it was duration-wise quite small, around 22 months we got for the implementation. And we worked with 40 tanneries in the Savar Tannery state. In terms of the background, and as this is the second largest export earning sector in Bangladesh, so it employs around 900,000 workforces, both direct and indirect workforces. So this sector was really relocated from a different place that is called Hazaribagh to this state in 2027. So right now, around 130 plus tanneries are active now, and around 10,000 workforce are working in the state. Because of the type of the production process, a large amount of liquid and solid waste gets generated for the production process. So by design, to manage this, it was supposed to go through the central ETP system, but apparently there is inefficiency in waste management and effluent process in the state, which is why like as Heidi mentioned, for the global recognition, LWG certification, this sort of issues arise. So we started on that point. So the main objective of the project, titled Improving Environmental and Social Conditions in the Savar Tannery State, the main goal was to reduce environmental and social impact, build systems, skills for responsible workforces, and also promote cleaner and efficient production process. So we have covered few of the activities under this project, like building, establishing ESMS, capacity building. We supported forming different committees, some engaged in lobby and advocacy, and also promoting HADD. But the entire project was focused with three areas. Next slide, please. So the program mainly focused on strengthening people, practice, and planet in mind for sustainability. So starting from capacity building, system development, and environment-friendly production process. So we focused on working three areas basically. First, the entire workforce that has been working in the sector. ensuring them the safer and more inclusive workplaces so that they have a stronger safety standard, gender sensitivity is ensured, and OSH is practiced there. And workers are also empowered to raise voices. They talk about both social and environmental perspective. Not only for workforces, but also for the business perspective. The management working behind the sector they have the necessary capacity that is improved so that there is stronger compliances, all the documentation is required. So that requires training and upskilling, reskilling. So that is one of the focuses. And also ensuring all the sustainability here for like market competitiveness and promoting sectoral best cases to global market. And also the third one is the environment. So lowering the production, lowering the impact of the production process, and promoting environment-friendly production that is more efficient and cost-saving. All in all, the three areas that would lead to a sustainable leather and tanner industry, that was the main focus of the project. So in the last 22 months, we worked with these 40 tanneries. We had two business association and also worked with worker union. So along with the sectoral stakeholders, so let's see how we achieved some of the changes that we captured in our inline assessment. So we conducted individual environmental assessment. We provided recommendations in different environmental assessment. So these individual factory wise, these factories received recommendation where they need to be to achieve the global certification. And also then the factory management and worker sat together and discussed and set their KPIs and drafted ESMS, Environmental, Social, and Management Action Plan, factory-wise. So that was to close the gap between their current practice and that the one they want to achieve the LWG certification. So in total, they set around more than 400 KPIs on different environmental and social indicators. So we closely, among these 40 tanneries, we closely work with few tanneries among around 10 factories because one of the crucial part was lacking of the data management system. So we provided them the support and sorting out their utility data. We used few of the cleaner production testing equipment, and we provided that technical support and developed these factories for the data management up until January 2024 to June 2026. We'll be talking about details later. And also with those data, we also assisted these factories to develop their carbon emission report. Basically to help these factories to move forward and giving them the idea how the system should be developed. When we started the project, there were only two factories having anti-harassment committee. Right now, when we were just about to end the project, around 21 anti-harassment committee right now. And right now, there are 32 safety committees that has been established. Moving on to the next slide. So we also provided few trainings. In total, 9 types of trainings that we have provided on chemical management, water management, waste management, housekeeping, occupational health and safety, HREDD, environmental and social management, gender sensitivity. So there were a few technical as well as soft skill training. So that engaged workers along with factory management. And also there are a few other engagement that included awareness raising campaigns as well. So apart from the direct training, we also tried to build in-house training culture in the factory so that beyond project, the retention of the training and the knowledge is continued so that we developed to climate champions among these direct training participants. And they also set the target and oriented rest of the workforce inside the factory. And not only they focused on the utilization of PPE in the factory, but also for the training curriculum. And workers also set their KPIs. What is their role in their action plan? How they would engage in the, as we are calling it, worker-led climate action, where does their role fit in? And also we back and forth engaged with union leaders, had workshops and discussed about their ongoing CBA and what should be, environment should also be part of their CBA as well. So in their recent CBA, we have found that they have added 2 agenda in their recent CBA on environment. And also for the stakeholder engagement, we directly work with one of the active network of this sector, that is Leather Development Forum, which includes business association representative, all the development partners, academia, worker representatives, and other organizations, including government. All are participating in this Leather Development Forum, where ETI and BLF is also part of it. And also we worked on the human rights and environmental due diligence as a key priority. So we worked closely with LDF and added HIDDA as part of the focus area. But all this works because of the short time. Some of the work requires more further action. Say, for example, for the safety committee, as we focused a lot of time in building capacity, forming these committees, the safety committee overall awareness level increased, but it's still unclear to many workers what is the agenda, how much these committees could support. But overall, these committees need stronger accessibility in factories to ensure their agenda and work. Same goes for anti-harassment committee. So we are talking about a sector where about only 7 to 8% workers in the state are female. In many factories, there are no female workers. So in that point, often it's confusing for them why we need an anti-harassment committee where we don't have any female workers. So in that point, we started the project. So right now it's a transition phase. I think it's overall the entire stakeholder are becoming more sensitized in regarding this. Same goes for occupational health and safety. Like for PPE, we have seen major shift in utilization, same social dialogue and sustainability. So right now, I would like to hand over to my colleague Farjana Yasmin to cover learning for the environmental perspective. Farjana.
Thank you, Nafiz bhai. Hi all, this is Farjana Yasmin. This slide presents the overall progress of participating tanneries in aligning with national and international environmental standards. So let me make a short brief about the stages, where I mentioned early stages, transition, and advanced stages. So early stages are the categories whose tannery are with limited environmental systems, weak documentation, minimal monitoring practices, and largely reactive compliance behavior, actually. The transition stages, the category includes factories that had initiated structured practices such as SOP, the basic monitoring systems, improved housekeeping, and partial implementation of environmental management measures. Advanced stages demonstrated they are comparatively in higher stages in terms of environmental governance, in terms of EFSMS, and also the others regulatory compliance. So I'm continuing my slides for the next one. So we founded the baseline conducted on 2025 on March. So there are 23 out of 40 tanneries. Where at the early stages, by the end of the project, this number dropping significantly to 9. At the same time, the number of tanneries in the transitioning stages, it increases from 14 to 21. So most importantly, advanced stage tanneries increased threefold from 3 to 9.
Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like we're having some difficulties with Farjana's. Oh, we've got her back. Okay. Farjana, we lost you for the moment, but please carry on.
Okay. Should I carry on? Okay. Okay, thank you. So can you moving on the next slide, please? Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, this progress was driven by the improvement across several environmental management areas. So chemical management practices become stronger with better awareness, reduce wastage, improve RSL management, and increase required testings. The standard production relies on chromium tanning. So we know that the tannery there has chromium tanning and both vegetable tanning. So however, 31 tannery is maintaining active setup for vegetable tanning, deployed as needed to meet specific buyer requirements. So in terms of waste management, become more systematic, and 20 tanneries are now maintaining waste measurement records, where some of are in waste segregation practice, actually. And for the water efficiency, improved significantly with recipe-based water management and reduced systems adopted most of the factories. For the energy efficiency, measures also expanded. So with 29 tanneries using energy efficient machineries and 32 are implementing short starter of variable frequency drive system. So it's a good progress we found there. So environmental data management improved through better effluent monitoring, CETP report archiving, and performance tracking systems also. So I would like to add a short note here that the baseline assessment identified a major gap in the factories for the data management system. To address this, the project provided an intensive support to develop a structured data management system to 11 tanneries. So when we conducted the final assessment, so there was a impressive results. Most of the factories have successfully overcome their data management challenges. The intervention has enabled them to track progress and losses for the first time. So empowering them to develop efficient short and long-term strategic plan also. So can you go for the next slide? Okay. So despite of this progress, several challenges remains. So all relevant stakeholders along with its tanneries still need stronger institutional capacity to fully integrate environmental management into business operations. We know now environmental management and environmental concern is no longer as an optional. This is essential. So process level optimizations of water, energy, and chemical use remains limited, and investment in advanced technologies is often constrained by cost of infrastructures and barriers also. The effluent compliance requires collective actions, particularly from factory level. Pre-treatment need to be aligned with legal compliance. There has a legal framework also. At the same time, CETP performance need an increase according to the demand. We know CETP is performing is less as required demand. So the chemical management practice needs greater consistency, especially in hazardous chemical reduction and documentation also. Finally, greenhouse gas management remains an emerging areas. Many factories still need clear emission records, targeted and long-term decarbonization plan. So so I would like to add here another issues that while the journey is not complete, the project has demonstrated that targeted support can accelerate environmental performance and strengthen the sectoral readiness to meet the international and the national expectations. So, however, the given time extension of these interventions requires a larger time frame. So the initial 22 months period was simply too short to achieve the full long-term support also, long-term impact. So that's on. I'm requesting to Nafiz Bhai to go on with the next slide. Thank you.
Thank you, Farjana. So all the interventions that required some of the follow-up in process, as well as a sustainability initiative, which is why from the beginning of the project we worked with we started with giving these factories environmental assessment, all the recommendations, and gave them the gaps. Based on that, these factories reviewed the recommendations. They provided also their feedbacks, and we organized workshops and trainings where senior level management as well as workers they sat together. They reviewed all the recommendations, and based on the feasibility, they selected a few of the KPIs, which is their priority area, and then they drafted the action plan. They reviewed with their owner and senior management, and then it was finalized which of the KPIs they would be working. And also they also highlighted where which department is responsible for which work, and also where is workers role in each of the KPIs. And once it was finalized, the entire, like, we followed up regularly regarding the progress, whether any technical support was provided or needed in this process. So in the next slide, we would have a look at all the KPIs that these factories developed. So in total, about 412 KPIs these 39 factories developed in many areas: waste management, water management, energy efficiency. Almost majority of the factory focused on capacity building, chemical management. So we throughout the journey, we also assessed the progress. And up until June, we saw among these 400, about 200, more than 200 KPIs were achieved by these factories. Few were ongoing, and few of the KPIs are yet to start. So we tried to assess what is the reason, which type of KPIs got achieved faster, which lagged behind in terms of implementation. So we saw around like the factors that made this action achieving these KPIs possible was the KPIs that were low cost, that were like the low hanging fruit type of KPIs, those were achieved faster. Like tannery priorities, housekeeping, awareness raising, PPEs, this sort of KPIs faster. And also the KPIs that didn't require factory owners' approval or any financial investment, we all could be possible within by factory management. That was achieved faster. In often where owners' engagement were reliant, that kind of KPI is delayed. And also for the capacity building in-house training process, these KPIs they focused more. Same goes for behavioral change or other areas. We found that advisory visits, our support and technical advisory, that helped in terms of achievements and intervention. But then again, at the end of the day, like the market demand and the production, that dictates the sustainability initiatives because it often require financial investment. And if there is a pressure from the market that it is necessary, it is mandatory, then this factory would take these like as a more priority basis to implement those. So in summary, so within such short period of time, within just 22 months, these factories were able to improve their basic environmental and social management practices. This include like improvement in their documentation, training practice, like social management practices, safer workplaces. However, these are important first step that the okay, yes. Worker voice, active management engagement, and continuous social dialogue. And enforcement is also very necessary. At the same time, we must recognize like the system that continues to hold factories back. Our waste management that remains weak. Finance is limited here, as well as the traceability systems are not yet that much strong enough. So these constraints reduce the ability of factories to meet international standard and limit their access to global markets. So addressing this systemic issue is critical if the sector is to achieve long-term sustainability. And so last but not least, so we engaged stakeholders on human rights and environmental due diligence. Can you move on to the next slide? Right. So for human rights and environmental due diligence, what we did was we researched and consulted with global leather sector to develop a global guidance for buyers and suppliers on HIDD. So it covered good and better practices for brands and suppliers. And then we disseminated this with the wider stakeholder. Mainly, purpose was to mainstream the HIDD and facilitate discussion about all the sectoral challenges and recommendation. Then it was on a global perspective, but then we focused on the national perspective, covering the local context. So we were engaging with Bangladeshi stakeholders from Leather Development Forum. We co-developed HIDD module. And then we disseminated sectoral stakeholders, including factories, workers, development partners, academia, association. So how all can integrate the HIDD as their priority. We'll be talking about this in the later part of the session. So these are the key learnings that we were able to share within the limited time today in this session. More detailed learning document is available, which captures all the insights in depth, and I hope you find that engaging to read. So with that, I would like to hand over to Heidi to continue the session. Thank you all for your attention and for listening to us. Heidi, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Nafiz and Farjana. I mean, that was a really rich overview. And as you shared, you can't cover everything. We will have that learning paper available following the webinar. So thank you very much for those insights. Now, audience, if you have questions about what Farjana and Nafiz have shared, please drop these into the Q&A. You'll have a chance to pose some of these questions in the panel discussion. But before we go over to that, I would like to ask Abil and Ashraf to share their reflections on the achievements of SMEP and really the way forward from here. So first of all, I'm going to turn to Abil and ask, Abil, we know we're at a really pivotal moment for Bangladesh in many respects. Can you share some reflections on the significance of the leather sector, which we've already heard, second largest export market, and specifically what are the benefits of taking an HREDD approach for the leather sector? And if I can add in another question there too, what are you hearing about other stakeholders and their interest in taking this forward too? So Abil, if you can tackle a couple of those questions, we'd be super grateful.
Thank you so much, Heidi. So first of all, if we look at the numbers, the leather sector is the second largest export basket for Bangladesh. But in reality, that the amount we are exporting is declining for the last 10 years. And the reason behind it is that we have lost the high value export market, mainly the European market. Now, the entrepreneurs in the sector are trying to catch up by investing in audits, mainly LWG and SEDEX. But that will not help them meet the gap completely. They need to make an investment, overall investment on the HRDD approach, because the goalpost is shifting. The European regulations that are coming up is going beyond audit. They are looking at minimizing environmental and worker risk through the HRDD framework. So it's critical that we also adopt it so that we can continue to grow the business and be relevant and continue doing business with the European market and other high-value export destinations as well. Now, from the local side, in the last 1.5 years, we actually have seen a genuine interest from all stakeholders, including business and civil society actors and government, to adopt it and take it up. Just to give a couple of examples, one of the training sessions, capacity building sessions that we had organized on human rights and environmental due diligence were the most oversubscribed trainings in the among the 7 batches of training Nafiz mentioned. At the same time, we have seen that the government of Bangladesh, under specifically Ministry of Commerce, have taken a leadership role in developing a roadmap for the leather sector, which they are doing in collaboration with UNCTAD. And the process that they're following is a massive amount of consultation with all relevant stakeholders: the business community, the civil society, the development forum, workers. Everybody is chipping in. Everybody is giving their input to create that holistic roadmap so that we can actually move the industry in the future. And I can see a lot of ownership that has been taking place. Now it's all about implementing it. That's all from my side.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Abil. So Ashraf, Bangladesh Labour Foundation has been involved for many years now in the Savar tannery estate, working with other stakeholders. So in your opinion, Ashraf, what did you see was the benefits of this intervention? You know, what was made this different? And as well, if you've got any reflections on how, you know, the changes that we started to see here could be sustained and further progress be made, I think that would be really helpful to have your perspective.
Thank you, Heidi, and thanks for having me here. I think first of all, I need to thank ETI and ETI UK and ETI Bangladesh to join in our journey, which we started in the year 2012 or 2013. We have started working in the tanneries like in Hazaribagh, then we actually saw the whole transitional period. And in our journey, I should also thank UNCTAD and UK government to initiate these interventions. I think BLF journey although you have mentioned that we have a national labor rights organization, but in tannery we actually approach holistically. With the Ministry of Labor and Environment, we actually develop national plan of action to ensure social compliances for the workers. And also we engage with the policy level. For example, we actually develop labor inspector checklist for the Department of Inspections. So which was earlier missing. The checklist was only developed for the RMG sectors. So, and then we develop another checklist for the labor inspector for the tannery sector itself. While we talking about the uniqueness of this intervention is very much unique actually. Many initiative has been formed in tannery, like someone work for the environmental compliances, some works for the labor issues. But with these interventions, actually both environmental and social dimensions comes up together. And the project combined environmental management system, workplace safety, workers protection, social dialogue, HIDD, and stakeholders engagement under one framework, which is very unique. And in the tanneries earlier, we used to work with the social issues or environmental issues separately. And I think with this holistic approach, it works very nicely, as you see from the Farjana's and Nafiz presentations. And another important lesson that technical improvements only is not enough. So most meaningful and sustainable progress will be happen when the management engagement and reinforced active trade unions, workplace committee, safety committee, anti-harassment committee, and continuous dialogues. So I think it is only happens when we actually make this sustain. So for a sustain, we need a strong collaboration, interministerial collaboration and collaboration with all the stakeholders. I think we are engaging very actively. ETI, BD, and BLF is very actively engaged with Ladder Development Forum. So through the Ladder Development Forum, we are trying to engage all the stakeholders. And tannery is suffering from investments, environmental investments, and particularly CETP performance, waste management systems, and traceability mechanisms. And access to finance is another important issue for these sectors, so which is suffering for a long. I think we should not forget the decent work environment. So decent work must remain at the center of any green transitions. So which include fair wages, reasonable working hours, occupational health and safety, gender equality, freedom of associations, collective bargaining, social protections, and above all, a meaningful social dialogues. So environmental sustainability for us, environmental sustainability and worker compliance should go together. Otherwise, it won't sustain long. And finally, I would like to emphasize that the tannery sector is very potential, but here brands transparency and accountability and supply chain and value chain transparency is still missing. So what we have developed that global HIDD framework for leather sectors, which may work very inclusively in Bangladesh tannery sectors. But also another important issue is that brands should come forward like RMG sectors in these sectors, and foreign direct investment is also very necessary for improving these sectors. But this is a very potential sector because the raw materials is homegrown. As a whole, we need to develop a ecosystem on leather sector in Bangladesh. So in that case, initiative like this, it is also very limited time period, but it should continue for a longer period of time, these types of initiative. But BLF will keep continue work, and I think we think that ETI BD and ETI UK, the approach they have taken in the tanneries is very unique, and it was not happens like that way in earlier. So it should continue, but we maybe stop here with this project, but we will continue our work with ETI BD through leather development forums and other forums as well. So maybe I could stop here now, and maybe we can go for next one. And I can talk later.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashraf, so much. And definitely, I think on that point about the Leather Development Forum, I know with our initiative, as with many of the initiatives that ETI and ETI BD undertake, we really look to strengthen and work with existing institutions and also partners like BLF. And as Ashraf mentioned, ETI Bangladesh will continue being a member of the Leather Development Forum, which is a forum that does include government stakeholders, NGOs, private sectors, partners, businesses, associations, and such. So very similar to ETI's tripartite approach. We're now going to move into a panel discussion. So if you had any questions for Ashraf or Abil or Nafiz or Farjana, this is your moment to ask them. So whilst you're getting warmed up, I'm going to start off with a question, which is that it does sound like the CETP, the Central Effluent Treatment Plant, that is a major issue and barrier. Is that the only barrier that is really that tanneries face in terms of getting LWG certification, in your opinion, and being able to access markets? If so, what is currently being done to address that? Because it's, as Nafi said, that's quite a systemic issue, and that does seem like it's beyond any individual tannery. So if anyone has any reflections, I know that's often a key focal point, a focus point for many stakeholders, but is that the only one, and what is being done about it? So I'll leave that to anyone to take up.
Maybe I can add up. So the other day we had a conversation with the managing director of the organization, the CETP, that centrally looks after the effluent treatment in the state. So overall, he also shared his journey. So one of the conversation was it requires for an efficient ETP, it doesn't only depending on the functioning of the ETP, rather it's a pre-treatment process from the factory that also be efficient as well. So overall, it's a collaborative approach. So rather than only solely depending on the CETP, all factories and all the stakeholders should play their active role. according to the design and all the processes that needs to be there. And also other policy level of support is required so that these factories could establish their individual ETP as long as they have the financial capacity. So that level of support should also be there. Anyone else would like to add anything regarding this?
Maybe I can add a bit, Nafiz bhai, if you allow. I think the CTP is very important for this sector, but in-house housekeeping is also very important. It's not pre-treatment as Nafiz bhai mentioned, but waste management systems and recycling, improvement of recycling areas. If we actually introduce the circularity mechanism in this sector, we can actually use that wastages for the byproducts and all other value additions in these sectors. So, I mean, CTP, we are in a discussion, I think yesterday or day before yesterday. So this is, CTP is not the only issue. So, I mean, the improvement can start from the factory itself as well. So that actually it can create the additional values, and then actually CTP is an ongoing process of improvement, since I mean the structural design was not that much effective initially, and in investment like CTP is quite costly, and we are in a process to improve that version. So this is very important that we need to understand, and stakeholders should understand that okay, we should work ourselves for improvement other than the CTPs.
Thank you very much. I think that's a really helpful point in terms of it can feel sometimes very difficult to feel like action and progress can be taken. But as Nafiz and Ashraf said, there's a lot that tanneries can do to strengthen their management systems and to ensure that the waste, that the pre-treated wastewater is already the contamination levels are reduced through processes that and steps and measures they can take within the tanneries. However, we somewhat paint a bleak picture here. Whilst there are tanneries that, if they are reliant on CETP or face other challenges, they will face challenges getting LWG certification or meeting other international standards. But there are tanneries that do have certification in Bangladesh. There are tanneries that are meeting buyers' requirements. Obviously, they weren't necessarily in scope of this initiative because we were really working with those that were earlier on in their journey. But perhaps the team could share some insights in from what they gathered from those tanneries that are able to access international markets, are able to meet standards. What were some things that you picked up from them? So I'll hand that back over for, I think, potentially Nafiz again. I believe you've been engaging with some of those other tanneries that are in a more advanced stage. What can you share from them about what's working for them?
So we have visited and closely worked with, although it was not part of the project scope, but we closely worked with a few of the LWG certified factories in Bangladesh. We have the larger one. So for context, none of the factories inside the states are among them. So what we saw was the main strength was a strong data management system that they share, because they need to have like historical data of 2 years of historical data. So that they focused very deeply, as well as very nitty-gritty level of detail in terms of LWG certification. In many areas, for the LWG certification, we also from the project we supported in our project factories for the assessment areas, which of the major and mandatory recommendations. So we found out that these factories adopted those, but the main thing was willingness among these factories that we need to tap into the premium market. That is our one single goal. So they worked on that. That is the main observation that we found.
Fantastic, Nafiz. I can see that we have a hand raised from Elizabeth in the audience. Elizabeth, you can drop your question in the Q&A. We can pick it up there. Whilst we're waiting to see the question from Elizabeth, as we wrap up, could I ask everyone to share maybe one recommendation that you would make to any stakeholder you pick in terms of what they can do to carry forward this work, continue to support tanneries changes, and also support the capacity of other stakeholders like trade unions. So we'll do a little round. I'll ask Abil to start with a recommendation he has, and we'll kind of just go around my screen.
My biggest takeaway from this project is that I would say that we need to work together in a more systemic manner, both at individual factory level and at a sectoral level. And for that entire purpose, LDF is key. So we need to continue supporting LDF, make it stronger, make it more functional, make it more powerful, so that going forward it can help shape the industry overall.
Fantastic. Okay, quickly over to Farjana. Farjana, what recommendation would you make? I assume it's on environmental practices.
Thank you, Heidi. So I would like to share my recommendation here, that I think the sustainability, this concept is not sole responsibilities. This is a collaborative approach. So there need stakeholder, tannery associations, relevant government, and others, right holders, stakeholders, both. All there is a collaborative approach. It's required. So I think this is now a crucial demand for this sector.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Farjana. Nafiz, what would be your recommendation?
Right. So my one recommendation would be to develop a unified roadmap that has short, medium, and long-term plans that actively involve workers, community, along with all the stakeholders, so that this will ensure the sustainability improvements through shared responsibility and accountability. Without engaging workers and community, that is my recommendation.
Amazing. Thank you, Nafiz. Ashraf, your final recommendation.
Thank you. I think one important issue is very important now when you talk about the tannery sectors. Actually, two important issues. One is that the brand's engagement, the improvement of responsible business practice in leather and leather goods sectors. And another important issue is that, the engaging in the circularities. So that is also very important issues when you talk about the tanneries. So we need to focus more on inclusive manner on environmental social compliances together.
Thank you, Ashraf. So a really big theme that's coming through from everyone is the need to collaborate. The solutions to some of the challenges the tannery sector face are really ones that need all hands involved. So we are coming to the end of our webinar. So I can see that we have a question. We'll follow up with that in our notes. So if you want to know more about the work we've done, we have learning papers, as mentioned. We also have a guidance on leather due diligence, which is not just for Bangladesh, it's for stakeholders in working in leather globally. As well, we've got case studies that dive into some of the stories of the individuals who are involved in this project. And finally, we have some insights and guidance from our sort of sister project, our other colleagues who have been working with the other broader SMEP consortium of grantees who and the work we've done to support them integrate decent work into the work they've been doing. So we will follow up with this to everyone who's attended with the links to these documents. And of course, if you ever have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to our colleagues in Bangladesh, Nafiz and Abil, and at the Secretariat, you can reach out to Sarah Peterson as well. So thank you very much for joining us this morning.